Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Richard West. I'm a Denver sports fan, obviously. Today, I'm finally back to doing NFL prediction videos again. I was very inconsistent with that last year, but football is back, and I'm so excited. And yeah, let's just jump into it. So first up, we got Cowboys at Eagles. Eagles are at home. Right away, I'm going to go ahead and take Eagles on this one. I think Nick Sirianni and this front office have gotten so good at knowing when to cut someone loose and when to bring people in. They have gotten into such a good rhythm, contract-wise and talent-wise, where they know how to get the best out of somebody and when it's no longer working. Their preseason at quarterback looked really good. They have good depth. At quarterback, they got depth. Jalen Hurts and Tanner McKee is good enough. And there really wasn't much change from the offensive core from last year that did so well, except for maybe at tight end. And I fully expect that Eagles defense to still be raging, still be fiery and scary. And then you have the Cowboys, where I just don't really know what to expect, and also they're away at Philadelphia. Even after their preseason, there are a lot of questions surrounding the Cowboys. They just got rid of Micah as well, so that's not great either. I don't know who besides maybe a super passionate Cowboys fan would trust them to win over the Eagles right now, before we've seen both teams play. Chiefs versus Chargers. Chargers are at home. Now, I know LA is not really known for their fan base, at least when it's not the Rams. That being said, the Chiefs have started off at home for week 1 the last 2 years, and I believe they're 1-1 on that. And with Jim Harbaugh going into year 2 still with Justin Herbert, being one of the more dominant AFC teams in an already super competitive AFC, and then losing so badly in the wild card, I think there's definitely going to be a chip on your shoulder mentality. I think Justin Herbert is ready. That being said, the Chargers just lost their most expensive lineman. I don't really know about their offensive core. I know they picked up Najee, but that situation looks really bad. There aren't really offensive weapons that I know of, so it's really just a Chargers defense that I'm hoping looks well. That being said, the Chiefs offensive core doesn't look great either. Like, at this point, they're still trusting in aging Travis Kelce, a Patrick Mahomes that doesn't move around as well at 30 years old, looked terrible all year last year. It was really just the refs saving him. And they're also kind of banking on Xavier Worthy. That's basically it. I guess really with any Chiefs matchups going forward, it's just about how much are the refs going to help them. If we have a fair matchup, I'm going to take the Chargers. Next up, we got Dolphins versus Colts. This is a matchup I could not care less about. The only thing I'm kind of hoping for is to somehow see Zach Wilson play. That's really the only thing I want. The Colts as a team right now is just they're so unexciting. Like, there's nothing going on with them like the past couple years. I don't know who in their right mind would be excited for Daniel Jones, but there's nothing there. Even with a really good running back like Jonathan Taylor, I just can't get excited because, like, who are the Colts? You know, they were heating up at the end of last year. It was really just Tua's injury that took him out of it. I gotta go with Dolphins. Tua still looks good when he's healthy. I still gotta trust Mike McDaniel. Their offensive core for the most part looks good. They just got rid of, I think, 2 running backs, so they freshened that up, and they can still really get it done in the air. Colts will probably have at least 2 turnovers by Daniel Jones, at least 1 interception. This is a quarterback that will single-handedly lose you games, and I can absolutely see them getting off to a bad start this year because of that. Next, we got the Steelers and Jets. Jets are at home. Now, my prediction for this one has kind of changed in the past 5 minutes. I love Arthur Smith. I think he gets too much flack as an offensive coordinator, so I absolutely trust that his offense is going to be good, just maybe going to be a little bit slower week 1. Now, we know with a Mike Tomlin defense that they are going to get the ball back. They're going to get stops. They've also worked with Justin Fields. They know what his flaws are. And I think a lot of people are banking on the Steelers getting the upper hand just because, like, Mike Tomlin does that. And also Justin Fields didn't necessarily look his best during the preseason. To be fair, his first preseason game, he looked fantastic. So the Jets right now are so interesting. They have such a unique situation. First time head coach in Aaron Glenn, who also runs a tight ship. First time offensive coordinator and play caller Tanner Engstrand. They got a Justin Fields, who I believe is going to do his best to run all over Pittsburgh, chip on his shoulder, wanting to put them down. And I do have a video coming out about this, but Tanner Engstrand has a lot of experience under guys like Dan Campbell, Jim Harbaugh. You know, he's been an offensive coach for years and years, and he's finally getting his shot. So I kind of am optimistic about him as a coordinator and play caller. I gotta go with the Jets. Then we got Panthers versus Jaguars. Jaguars are at home. I think this is another one where people just aren't really passionate about it for obvious reasons. I gotta go with the Jaguars right off the bat for this. I don't know why people are so optimistic about the Panthers. We know what they are as an organization. You can make whatever claims you want about Bryce Young, about the receivers, whatever. You can be optimistic about it. You can say their offense looked better at the end of last year. That's perfectly okay. But a lot of these people have them getting a positive record or something like that. And I just think that's ridiculous. Even now, the organization is still making the same mistakes. They just got rid of Adam Thielen when he chose to stay there and not retire so that he could train up the wide receiver core. And just like CMC, they got rid of one of their best weapons going into this year. Like, having a guy like that could have helped help them so much. Meanwhile, the Jags have elements that I'm super excited about. I think they have a great offensive core that was just being constantly misused by their offensive coordinator last year, who was just awful. Trevor Lawrence, Etienne, Bigsby, Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter. Like, this is a young offensive core to get super excited about with an offensive coach. I would so, and I'm getting a little bit biased and optimistic here, but I would so love to see Jacksonville be competitive again. That was such an exciting time before they started their lose streak in 2023. And we got Cardinals at Saints. I think the Saints are going to take this one, even though it might be a little bit close. I was super hyped up about the Cardinals last year and their playoff chances, but once again, the division was there for the taking and they did not do anything about it, and it was very frustrating. Kyler Murray is a quarterback that I want to believe in, but also offensively, who do they have besides McBride? Their running back room is so foreign to me. They got Marvin Harrison Jr. from last year, I forgot about that. 17 games played, 62 receptions, 116 targets for almost 900 yards, 8 touchdowns, 1 fumble. Literally, they have no offensive identity. They have no, I'm surprised they did as well as they did last year. I cannot, in their division, expect them to do well, especially not against a team like the Saints, where I feel like a guy like Spencer Rattler has everything to prove. I think he did well with what he was given last year. He stepped into a demoralized team as a rookie, a frustrated team in general, a severely injured defense. So really, it was all on Rattler's shoulders, and for some reason, the fans just came down on him like it was his fault. The morale was already bad under Dennis Allen. Rattler really was only a rookie, and I think people are a little bit too hard on him. The Saints are at home. I think they're going to show out. I think they're going to have a strong start. Kellen Moore is their coach. I think people are forgetting that. The Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator from last year is now the head coach in New Orleans. Like, that's huge. Then we got the Giants versus Redskins. I refuse to call them Commanders. I'm going to start calling them Redskins now. And I'm going to go ahead and go with Washington on this one. I don't think the Giants are going to do anything with Russell Wilson under center. This is a quarterback that quite literally cannot do anything, and I've said it so much in all of my videos, so I'm not even going to go too deep into it, but this guy literally cannot function as a quarterback. I don't know why people still refuse to see it. He does not make throws over the middle. He can't run. He fumbles like crazy. And usually his interception rate is pretty low because he holds onto the ball so long. So his sack rate is way up. So anytime he runs, he fumbles. Anytime he holds onto the ball, he gets sacked. Anytime he tries to be pass heavy, he's either throwing up prayers or throwing interceptions. Because of this, every single coach that he has been with thus far basically just has him doing handoffs and RPOs, and every single defensive coordinator or defensive coach catches on to that super quick. I believe this team is going to go 1-5 before Russ gets benched, and then they'll either go with Jameis or Jackson Dart. I really love the Giants' young offensive core. I think running back, tight end, and wide receiver, they look really good. They just need to insert Jackson Dart. I'm not really optimistic about the Redskins necessarily. Jaden Daniels, I think, is super overhyped. He did perform well. He was kind of the MVP sometimes on his team. That being said, Bo Nix obviously should have been Offensive Rookie of the Year. I am a homer, but just look at the stats, look at the performance, and look at what Bo Nix had versus Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels had receivers with Super Bowl experience and playoff experience. He had an easier division. Didn't have to go up against Jalen Hurts or Dak Prescott for a full game in any of those 4 games that year, and then just had the Giants that he had to deal with. That's 6 automatic wins. So when I say that Washington is going to win this, it's not out of optimism for them. Then we got the Bucks versus Falcons. Falcons are at home. I got the Bucks winning this one just because I don't know who Atlanta is yet. Raheem Morris's tenure so far has been kind of interesting. It's been all over the place, and I'm not really sure how it's going to go with Michael Penix. I really wasn't watching around that time of the year, and when he started playing, and I'm not really sure what to expect. They have some weapons down there. I'm not sure if they'll be able to put anything together necessarily. I mean, they just added so many receivers. They got Bucky Irving on the run game. They bolstered their receiver room. No matter what, this pass-heavy offense with Baker has options, and it's so exciting. So I gotta go with that over the Falcons, even though Atlanta's at home. Then we got the Bengals versus the Browns. I'm kind of a question mark on whether or not Cleveland is going to go back to their 2023 status, but man, Cincinnati with their offensive core, Joe Burrow, obviously Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and who's their running back? Chase Brown? I think I heard a report about how they changed to make the run game fit him a little bit better in his physical abilities. I'm not really sure what that means. They didn't go in depth about it at all, but they also just recently added Noah Fant, who's a tight end that I think is super underrated and is going to have a lot to prove here. In a pass-heavy offense, I'm excited to see him work. This is a tight end who has been pretty outspokenly resistant to being a blocker primarily and wants to get out, so it's just another option for Joe Burrow, and I think it's going to be a pretty underrated connection between quarterback and tight end that honestly could look really good. Then we got the Raiders versus Patriots. Now, the Patriots kind of have a little bit of a well, they have two legs up, actually. First of all, they have a year 2 quarterback, so there's a little bit of familiarity. Even though it's different coaches, the rest of the team is familiar with him. For that reason, it's a little bit different. Honestly, with Josh McDaniels as an offensive coordinator for the Patriots, again, I gotta go with that. I gotta trust that. Mike Vrabel on defense and Josh McDaniels on offense is just such a good combo for success. And with them being at home, that's the other leg up. I cannot see the Raiders, even though I think they're going to be successful this year, I cannot see them winning this, honestly. I'm not one of those Patriots truthers who like thinks they're going to be a playoff team this year. I mean, I think they're going to seriously improve, but right now, until further notice, seriously improving in New England just means going 8-9. You know what I mean? I'm not super optimistic like that, but I do think they'll win this game. Then we got 49ers Seahawks. I think the Seahawks will take this. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think that Seattle is a Super Bowl team this year. This is a team that was already doing well, 10-7 last year, missed the playoffs, surprisingly. I'm really curious what it would have looked like in the playoffs last year if they were in the mix. They spiced it up in the draft, adding a bunch of offensive pieces, and just the offensive core they kind of gutted and replaced in a way that I'm really excited about. Sam Darnold has looked good, and I think his loss in the wild card really has people dismissing him, but the reason he was out at Minnesota is because they already had JJ McCarthy waiting. It's not because he was so bad that they wanted to get rid of him, so I think he's going to recreate some magic in Seattle. I also just think this offensive core is just exciting as hell. Now, they did have some draft picks that didn't make the active roster, but are still on the practice squad, and I'm excited to see in the future. Having Drew Lock in the quarterback room for familiarity is good for morale. Having Jalen Milroe as a completely different, young type of quarterback from Sam Darnold is super exciting. Their running back room and their run game looked so good during the preseason, and I'm just hoping that they'll add Damian Martinez from the practice squad to that eventually. Still got Jackson Smith and Jigba, added Cooper Kupp. I'm excited to see how he does. I'm not super optimistic about it. Cody White and Torrey Horton have looked good. Horton looked amazing, and even as a special teams asset. I'm glad Elijah Arroyo is still on the active roster. I think he's going to be really great as a receiving tight end. I watched Miami almost all of 2024, and he was great there. And they've had a great defensive core since Pete Carroll, and a defensive coach like Mike McDonald is going to take great care of that. So going up against the 49ers, who have been in kind of chaos for a while and have a really bad situation where they need to get rid of expensive players to afford Brock Purdy. Not super excited about that. I love watching Shanahan. I love watching Brock Purdy. I am not at all one of these people who likes to dismiss him because system quarterback, whatever the hell that means. I love Kittle. Want to see CMC do well again. It's a division game, so you never know what'll happen, but Seattle Stadium. Then we have Titans versus Broncos. Broncos are at home, and I think the morale, even coming off the wild card loss, which, you know, we were just happy to be in the playoffs. Morale's too high between teams, fans, coaching staff. Everything is how we want it right now going into this year, at least for the most part. We're at home, and I just don't think that the Titans have anything right now to where they can really look at Cam Ward and say, yeah, he's gonna fix this, because he has to carry an entire team. And I love Cam Ward. I'm so happy he went first overall because he absolutely deserved it. The scouts during the 2024 college football season were saying that he wasn't even a first round pick early in that season, and then that narrative completely turned around. That being said, like, you know, even being a fan and watching Miami the whole year, you know, he had a pretty decked out team. He had a great offensive line, one of the greatest offensive lines in college football. He had guys like Elijah Arroyo. He had guys like Xavier Restrepo, who aren't even on the active roster for Tennessee right now. Damian Martinez. He had Isaiah Horton, Mark Fletcher Jr. You know, he had receivers, tight ends, running backs, and an offensive line with depth. In Tennessee, he has none of that. So it's basically all being placed on his shoulders. And if they don't do well for the next couple of years, he's going to take all the flack for that unfairly. Like, people are going to call him a bust, even though his talent is the same. And I think that's unfortunate. He's not going to win matchups like this. At least he better not against this defense. I'm biased, but I think like every single prediction that I've ever seen has the Broncos winning this. So then we got Lions versus Packers. Packers are at home. There's a lot of excitement around Green Bay because they added Micah Parsons, but that offense just sucks. That offense is terrible. Unless they get rid of Jordan Love, add some more depth at running back, tight end, and receiver, nothing's gonna happen. Like, this is just such a terrible team, bro. Jordan Love played terrible through all of 2023, and they just barely made the playoffs in a painfully uncompetitive NFC and NFC North. And then going into 2024, after Jordan Love got this ridiculous contract that they absolutely should not have given him, then they get one of the easiest schedules, lose almost every single actually tough matchup, go 11-6 because of how easy their schedule was, make it to the playoffs, wild card bounce. I have absolutely no faith in the offense for Green Bay. way, I can't see them putting up points. Even with the coaching changes in Detroit, I still think they're going to start off strong in a division game. I'm excited to see it. I got Lions. Then we got Texans Rams. This is a big, tough matchup. You know, everyone's saying that CJ Stroud had a bad year last year, but he really didn't. Like, you look at the offensive line, that was the primary problem. Ask any Texans fan. And outside of that, all of their weapons were going down. Everybody was injured that whole year. CJ Stroud was the only consistent thing. Like, really. Their defense also super, super scary, so I'm excited to see that. That being said, they're in LA, starting off the season away, and the Rams, even without Stafford in, have looked so good in the preseason so far. Their quarterback depth looks absolutely amazing. Their wide receiver depth is great. The main thing with the Rams is usually they lose their early games because of injuries or whatever. Stafford, I believe, is injured. I can't remember if that's been taken care of or not already. If it's starting off exactly like it did last year, they might lose this game. I'm not sure, but until then, I have the Rams winning this just because they looked so good during the preseason. I'm kind of reconsidering midway through the prediction here. Texans defense looked so good. So if Texans also looked really good during the preseason when Stroud and the other starters were in, this is going to be a tough matchup. It's going to be super, super, super tough. If the Rams have major injuries, I'm going to go with the Texans. If not, I'm going to go with the Rams. I really don't know about that one though. I would not bet on that. Then we got Ravens Bills. I'm going to go ahead and take Bills, even though I don't like them. I don't like the Bills at all. I think they're so like they're just I can't take the crybaby bullshit with Josh Allen. I can't take the way, oh, I feel so bad for Josh Allen. Oh, he looks so sad on the sidelines. Oh, like people were sympathizing him because of the Chiefs refs flag bullshit during the championship game, but like that's what the Bills did to us in the wild card game. The refs were literally on the sidelines rubbing Josh Allen's back and apologizing for missing a call. Like, fuck off with this bullshit. I think also there's kind of a curse that we don't talk about. Curse, I don't believe in curses. I'm not with the whole superstitious side of sports, but I think there is something to be said about the Bills being on Hard Knocks. I think there is kind of a Hard Knocks curse that hits somewhat consistently, misses people sometimes. It's not as effective as the Madden curse, but it's there. Even then though, I think them starting off at home is huge, coming off the Hard Knocks hype that is also there in a tough matchup against the Ravens. I mean, Ravens, they also came off a bad loss in the playoffs last year as well. That's what makes this week 1 matchup so good. I don't know, I'm not really excited for it just because I would love to see the Ravens ball out, would love to see them win this one, but I'm going to go ahead and take the Bills. And last but not least, we have Vikings versus Bears. Bears are at home. Now, I want to root for them. I want to root for Caleb Williams and this young offense. Guys like Colston Loveland who are over there now, super, super excited about that. Nobody can deny the offensive core that Chicago has right now. I mean, Cole Kmet, Colston Loveland, Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift, Rome Odunze. They drafted Luther Burden. That group with Ben Johnson, that's huge. But we also know Kevin O'Connell has his system. Even though JJ is basically going into his first year, you know, he looked amazing during preseason. I believe they're playing it so much more safe now. They got JJ over there, and I just have to trust the continued success with any quarterback that Kevin O'Connell has. Like, sorry, this team was just in the playoffs, and the Bears went, what, 5-12? The morale is changing, the culture's changing, and I believe Ben Johnson is going to make them more successful, but it's Chicago, you know? There are deep-rooted problems. I know they're working on it, but I don't know if it's the best thing to be super outspoken about how your quarterback is struggling. I don't really know what the situation is with Caleb Williams, but I think this is probably going to be the reverse of last year, where they start off a little bit slower and then heat up later in the year. I think this year for him is going to be better than last year, but not playoff caliber like I think a lot of people are going to expect in Ben Johnson's first year. I mean, that Brian Flores defense in Minnesota and Kevin O'Connell's, you can't beat that. You can, technically, but like, damn. Division game, I got to take the Vikings, even though they're not at home. But yeah, those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours down in the comments below. That is the video. Thank you for watching.